Hey everybody, Nick Shaw here with the weekly webinar. It's August 17th at 4 p.m. Just getting started here. Going to give it a minute or two to test things out, make sure everything's working, and make sure people are in if anyone's coming at 4. So just kind of hold on tight, everyone, if you are here, and we'll get going in just a minute. Just need to check things on my end. Make sure the webinar is working, and it appears that it is. Excellent. Just need to check things on. I can hear myself, so that is good. All right. So again, hopefully we have a lot of new people here today with the RP Plus trial that we did. That went over really, really well, actually. We ended up having to close down the number of slots open in less than 24 hours, which was really cool. So hopefully there's a lot of new folks in here that will be asking questions and taking advantage of all the cool stuff. So just get started here with just a little general introduction to RP Plus if we do have a lot of new people. Here's the deal with RP Plus. It's designed to be something for everybody. So we have, the forums, which are great and broken down into different categories. So, if you're interested in female physique, male physique, you're interested in CrossFit or strength sports, obviously miscellaneous for all sorts of other stuff. We're just getting into some coaches vlogs. So if you see that, that's another part of the forums. I'm running a little training log in there. Derek Wilcox is as well. He's a lot stronger than I am, so he's got some cool stuff going on there with videos and tips on forums, things like that. Really cool. Check that out. The other cool part is, of course, unlike Facebook, the free Facebook group, RP Clients, this is broken down into beginner or advanced diet questions. So if you get kind of tired of the same people asking the same stuff over and over in the Facebook group, you never have to deal with that ever again. So that's a cool part of RP Plus. Again, everything's, categorized, easy to sort and all that. Same goes with the blogs and videos. You can sort by beginner or advanced. So if you are a little bit more new to RP and you want more beginner stuff, that's totally great. And you can just click on that tag when you, look under the blogs or the videos. Really easy to sort through that, to make sure you're not getting into too complicated stuff unless you want to. And a lot of times we have a lot of people that have they're really looking to increase their knowledge via RP. So if you guys want, use the advanced stuff. And a lot of that stuff is, Mike and James taking some of their college courses and all that and applying them. Jason Miller has a biomechanics course, which is, of course, absolutely awesome. But it's definitely a bit more advanced, wouldn't be sort of beginner stuff. So keep all that in mind. If anyone is here watching the webinar, on the webinar page, you can leave questions as well. It says start the discussion, so I'll leave a comment there just so people know. So again, you can ask them there, and they'll show up live here, and we'll get to your questions, live during the webinar. All right. So again, RP Plus really intended to be something for everybody. No matter what you want to get out of it, you can. Some people, won't really watch a lot of the videos. That's totally cool. They just want the group template coaching. And the forums are meant to be RP group template coaching. Without a doubt, that is what they're there for. Tiago and Tara are excellent. They answer tons and tons of questions. Myself, I get in there and answer some stuff from time to time. But Tiago and Tara are fantastic, moderators, sort of junior coaches, as we like to call them, because they run all of this. It's not the same as one-on-one, so we can't write you a plan in RP Plus. There's just not, those resources just aren't available. You need a lot more information to write a one-on-one plan, which comes with the, one-on-one coaching that we offer. And we have a big long questionnaire and all that. So, don't think of the forums as your own personal coach. We can't quite do that. But any questions you have on the templates or anything like that, we can definitely help you out. And Tiago and Tara are awesome. And again, whether you want more advanced materials, RP Plus definitely has that. You know, the webinars each Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time with James and Mike. Fantastic. You can get super deep into advanced questions there, so that's really cool. Mine are probably a bit more basic stuff because, again, you know, I'm no expert. I don't have a PhD, so I won't pretend to go really in depth on some of the science behind diet and training. But I can definitely help answer a lot of, you know, basic questions, make sure people are on the right track, and every now and again dive a little bit deeper into that stuff if people want. But you know, by no means am I the expert on all that stuff. So I'll always defer out to, you know, Mike and James and the expert RP coaches. And that's why we have them. You know, not to mention RP Plus, we have tons of recipes. I know a lot of people join RP Plus just for the recipes because they're amazing. My wife does them. Can't speak highly enough of those. I get to taste test a lot of them, so they're really good. People love that. So, and again, we're always open to different ideas. So if people want, you know, specific recipes, Lori has a thread, I think, in the miscellaneous part of the forums, but she's asking people, you know, what do you want to hear about? You know, what different recipes do you want? And she's more than happy to cater to that. And again, we have tons and tons of recipes in there already. So take advantage of those. Let us know if you do want more stuff. We're always open to feedback on RP Plus. Make sure it's you know, what people want for it. So we want people to stick around and get a lot out of it. All right, so yeah, that's pretty much a general summary of RP Plus. I did see something in the forums. Again, so we can't really do a one-on-one plan. We can't also give medical advice. We'll never do that. It's just not the forum or setting for that, even though RP does have really qualified people, including registered dietitians and a doctor. You know, not to mention, we also have, you know, someone that we refer out to all the time at SteadyMD. It's online concierge medicine, and that's Dr. Spencer Nadolski. So if you look around in the miscellaneous part of the forums, you know, I've already referred some people there because they were asking about, you know, blood panel results and all that stuff. It's just not something we can cover in RP Plus, but we're more than happy to refer out to Dr. Spencer, who helped create our healthy diet templates. And I actually just saw a video from him today. He sent it over our way. We're going to be uploading it into RP Plus, so everyone will be able to watch it. And it's more or less just on, you know, basic general health. And if you go to the doctor and, you know, get physical and you get blood work, you know, what to expect, you know, what's, you know, good questions to ask your doctor, or if you have certain elevated levels, he's going to address things like that. And definitely, you know, cholesterol and your, you know, lipids. He's going to go not super into detail, not in this first video, but you know, people really like the videos and want more of it. Definitely have him dive more into you know, the specifics and science behind all of the lipid stuff and all that. So I just saw that today. We're probably going to get that uploaded here in the next couple of weeks. So be ready for that. I know one topic that I've seen come up quite a bit, whether it's in the RP Plus forums or just anywhere on Facebook with athletic folks, in that sort of, oh man, I'm not even sure I can say the word correctly, but creatinine levels tend to be elevated for people that lift weights. And so he addressed that at length in the video. So be on the lookout for that. You know, again, Dr. Spencer Nadolski, we refer a lot of people to him at SteadyMD. He's a doctor that lifts, so he understands the lifting lifestyle, and we really appreciate that. And a lot of people do like that. All right. So again, if we have people in here watching, if you have questions for the webinar, just drop them right in there. And if I see them, I'll definitely answer them here. All right. So, all right, we already have a question. Here we go. I'm heading to Thailand for a month for training in Muay Thai, and was wondering how much strength muscle I'd lose if I didn't do my strength training, kept protein and nutrition right. You know, probably not a lot if you take a month off. Usually you can get away with about 2 weeks or so of no training without really seeing any detraining results. You know, you'll lose a little bit if you're not lifting at all for a month. You know, not enough that's probably going to be substantial. You know, I would say even if you can, I don't know, do some push-ups or pull-ups or something like that, just a little bit if you can. You know, it sounds like you probably will be in a gym or something. I'm sure there's a little something around. So a little bit of something would be better than absolutely nothing. But if you do have to take a full month off, it's not going to be the end of the world. And luckily, if you are a bit more advanced, all that stuff's going to come back pretty quick. And that's the cool part about training, is if you do take some time off, it does come back pretty quick. But usually you can go up to about 2 weeks without really getting detrained. After that, you might start to see a little bit of negative results, but nothing, I would say nothing too crazy with just a month. You start getting past that, it might be sort of bad news, and you might want to really go out of your way to look for something to strength train, but it doesn't sound like it's going to be more than a month, so it's probably not a huge deal on that. So thanks, Zach. Thanks for the question. Well, I'm glad you're here watching, and again, if you have some other questions, feel free to drop them in there while I'm here. I'm gonna try to be here for about a full hour or so 4 to 5 today, Eastern time. All right, so covered some of the medical stuff, the RP Plus overview. Yeah, again, so we just recently ran a 14-day trial for RP Plus. It was $1. Sent it out to a bunch of people on our email list, and honestly, it went way faster. I actually was at the movies with my wife. We went and saw Dunkirk, and I felt like my phone never stopped, blinking or whatever. And we had to shut it down in less than 24 hours because we had so many people sign up. And we, of course, don't want to overrun our moderators. So Tiago and Tara, we don't want to bombard them with so many new people that there's just so many questions they can't get to. We want to make sure everyone's able to get their questions answered. So we did have to turn that off in less than 24 hours. It was probably more like 12 hours or something like that. So it really blew our mind. But again, all the new people here, we really like you. We really, like you to stick around, enjoy it, take advantage of it while you can for these couple weeks. And we hope to see you around after that. Always adding in new videos, new blog posts every week, new recipes, doing webinars every week. So if you have any questions that we can sort of take care of, and again, the cool part about this is you don't have to worry about if you're getting bad advice. The RP Clients Group is by and large fantastic, but you'll always have people giving their opinions, which may or may not be correct. So you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt and think about that. Sometimes they make it really good advice, sometimes it sucks. And, just kind of the way it is on Facebook, people can sometimes be dicks. So, I've never seen that occur in RP Plus. It's something that we'll take very seriously, of course. If you are signing up in here, if anyone ever gives negative responses or anything like that, we'll of course handle it ASAP. We also do that on the Facebook group, but again, it's free. We do have a bunch of moderators that span multiple time zones to kind of keep up with that, but it's just the nature of Facebook. So it's free on Facebook, so you have to kind of take the good with the bad there. There's a lot of good, but also, it's by no means sort of perfect, and beware if you take other people's opinion, because it may not be something that we would necessarily recommend at RP. All right, so I had a couple things written down that I'm going to touch on as well for the webinar. And again, if people have questions, keep dropping them in. I'll get to them as they come up. But, all right, so I've seen some questions in the last couple days since all the new people have joined. Really cool to see all the questions, make sure we're getting them answered. Someone was asking if they get a new set of diet templates. So this would be their second or possibly, third or fourth or whatever. But, where do you start? So the idea of the templates is you always want to start on the base. Let's say you start at 180 and you cut down to 160 and you get a new set of templates at 160. Let's just say you're going to mass or whatever. Again, they're designed for your current weight. So you always start on base. Always start on base, because if you start at 180 on base, you come all the way down to 160, the set of templates at 160 is designed for that weight. So the base should help you maintain. Now, it may not be perfect because, again, people have tons of different genetics and all that, so there's always a range. Some people respond better, sometimes people respond worse, and all that. When it comes to weight loss, hopefully that's not a shock to anybody. People have different genetics, of course, so not everyone's the same. But again, always start on base. Hopefully seems pretty simple, but just want to make sure that is clear, because the templates are designed based on your weight, so don't necessarily modify it on your own unless you feel really comfortable about doing that. In that case, all right, they're templates, you're in charge, so if you want to start on something else, you can, but it's not something we recommend. Always start on base. All right, and some other people were asking some questions about the templates, so just want to make sure things are very clear there. The way the templates are set up, they are designed to be very simple, easy to follow, easy to use, reduce the amount of thinking you have to do, So you don't have to plug everything into MyFitnessPal. You don't have to track every, incidental or trace macro, the proteins in peanut butter, or, the fat in your turkey burger, something that you're eating. The template's set up to pretty much account for all of that. Now, the exception is if you're eating foods that are, not on the template. In that case, it's probably best just to count every single thing, and then it's impossible to be wrong. And for most people, if your goal is weight loss, the worst that would happen there is you undereat a bit, which isn't really a big deal if you're looking to lose weight. So, and again, I was actually just on a podcast yesterday with Stupid Easy Paleo, Steph Gadru. Hopefully I said her name right. And that's something that her and I were talking about. And she just mentioned that, she doesn't have a lot of time, with running a small business and all that. She's really busy. She doesn't have time to sit down and track every single thing in MyFitnessPal and, just sort of obsess about that to make sure every single thing is tracked, because you have to literally write down and track every single thing you put in your mouth. There's a good and the bad, it's a very precise way to do it, but there's a big time trade-off of, having to track all that and really having to take a lot of time out of your day to do all that. And so, she tried some other, macro coaches. I don't know, macro coach. I don't even know what a macro coach is, but, whatever, basically people will just give you numbers, I guess, which you could go find online for free. So I don't know if people are going to do that. But anyways, that's another topic for another day. But again, she used some, other macro coaches or whatever, and, they had to just obsessively track every single thing they put into their mouth, no matter what, I think including pieces of gum and all that stuff. So the way we set up RP is just be super simple, super easy to follow. Cool thing is it's designed by really smart people. It's not me. I don't design any of the RP stuff. I just help make sure nothing falls apart, more or less. Designed by Dr. Mike, all of our PhDs. So they put a lot of time and effort into the products to make sure everything works. Very simple, easy to follow, and that's what we want. Because if you can simplify things, chances are you're going to stick to it more. If you stick to it more, you're going to see better results, and especially in the long run. That's what we're after. Getting people results, and there's actually nobody that gets people results more or better in the entire fitness industry than RP, and we're really proud of that. Again, check out RP_transformations on Instagram. Nobody else can match that anywhere in the industry, I don't think, or at least not that I know of. So again, there's a reason why people like the template so much. Simple, easy to follow. Can't tell you how many times I hear that. We just have to follow what's on the templates and you get results. It's really that simple. There's no tricks or secrets behind it. Just follow what's on the template. If you actually follow it and actually stick to it, you should see pretty damn good results. So just a quick summary of the templates, because I saw that question pop up in there. All right. So that's a lot of the stuff that I had kind of touched on that I wanted to personally talk about from the forums. So let's see if we have other people asking questions. I don't see a ton of questions. So probably what we'll do, if there's not a ton of people in here watching, again, I know it's 4 p.m. on a weekday. So it's not ideal time, but we want to give people the opportunity that may not be on the East Coast to watch the webinars. All right, so I'm going to go into the forums and pull some more questions that we can answer live here on the webinar. Make sure we get at least a half hour in here, and we'll go from there. So again, if people have questions, keep dropping them in. So I like to go to the beginner diet forums and answer questions from there. So, all right, this is actually a good one to answer on here. All right, so someone's asking if they're in a maintenance phase, if they have to do the intra-workout carbs and they have to do the casein at night because they don't really want to. Here's the deal with that. Hold on one second. You never have to do that stuff if you really don't want to. We have templates that don't have any of that stuff, that don't have any shakes at all, whether they're the evening hunger templates or the healthy diet templates. We have several different options that don't require any supplements. So if you don't prefer to drink your calories, you don't have to. And can you replace those with whole foods and eat more so you're more filled up? Absolutely, you totally can do that. That's the beauty of RP. You get a bunch of different choices and options. So if you don't like something or you don't want to, totally cool. Will it impact results? Not really, especially not on maintenance because you're already eating more. So it's not going to make a big deal either way. And definitely not the casein. It's just such a minor thing that if people don't want to do it, it's totally fine. And you can still see fantastic results. When you're cutting it might have some slight, performance benefits in helping make sure you don't lose any muscle. And that goes the same with the workout shakes. So again, you never have to do that stuff, but it's just strongly recommended. It's what we think is probably best at this time. That could change in the future, of course, based on more and more research and evidence. But I would say try to stick the templates as close as you can when you're cutting. And when you're mashing or maintaining, can you be a little more flexible with things? Absolutely. So pretty easy answer there. And again, we want to make sure it's something people can stick to. So that's why you have a bunch of different options on the templates, because we want to make sure that people can find what they like. And if you can like stuff and stick to it, you're going to actually follow it in the long run and in the short run. So, all right. Cool. Let's get into some more questions in the advanced part of the diet section. So here's an interesting question. Calories, how low is too low? Hello, been struggling with cutting for some time now. I've never been able to get that hard look or even respectable abs, only a glimmer of them in good lighting. Don't compare yourself to others, and that's a good part. That's a good way to start. My question is, how low is too low for calories? How low is too low? When you find yourself just getting ridiculous, crazy cravings for food, you cannot stop thinking about food. All you fantasize and obsess about is food. You don't have much energy. You become just really cranky and angry and irritable. When you start combining different factors like that, that is probably a good sign that you are close or at the point where you should end your diet. Because what happens is if you keep pushing when you're already dieted and calories are really low, it's not going to get any easier. You may have to start doing more cardio to burn more calories or eat less and less food, which is just a mental, really hard to do mentally. Just a lot of diet fatigue builds up. And again, you just start to get those crazy cravings. All you think about is food over really everything else. You're probably not going to have a lot of energy to work and function like normal. If you have a boyfriend, girlfriend, spouse, whatever, you're probably not going to be pleasant to be around. And they try to be nice to you. You probably just have no interest whatsoever. All you want to go do is eat a cheeseburger in the corner and probably cry or something like that. So those are the downsides of dieting too far and for too long, which is why we say we don't recommend people diet for more than 3 months. And then you need a nice long maintenance diet break, because we've done that before on ourselves. I know me personally, I've done that. I tried dieting for like 5 months a few years ago. It was awful. It was probably the worst time of my life. So that's probably when calories are going to be too low. So is there a specific number? Not really. There's no really set number, because a 48-kilo lifter, well, guess what? She may be 1,000 calories or under on certain days, depending on what she's doing. It really just comes down to, the specific goal, the specific timeline, and just kind of how much a person can take. Because, if you have a competition coming up where you have to make weight, all right, you may be able to make that short-term trade-off of, a week or two of just really, really low calories to sort of get there, because that trade-off is worth it for you. But if you're just dieting kind of for fun, so to speak, and you find yourself reaching that point where, you're just super irritable, all you do is crave and think about food, and maybe performance is starting to take a hit, just stop dieting. You have to make that choice. What's the greater trade-off there? Sort of quality of life, and maybe you don't lose as much weight versus, losing a bit more weight, but that quality of life, performance, and all that stuff starts to drop. So it's a balancing act. Think about that. And again, it's a personal choice there as to what's too low. There's no real set answer. It's not like there's a specific number that says, oh, well, if you're a male, you can't go under, X number of calories. Like that's, just not true. I know for females out there somewhere on the internet, someone claimed, that all of a sudden 1,200 calories, if you go below that, it's just, starvation mode, which by the way isn't really, it's not a thing, but there's no set number, because again, it depends on goals and timelines and personal preferences and trade-offs and choices and all that stuff. So tough to give an exact answer on that. But that was a question in the advanced part. All right, so another one, cut versus mass. All right, well, this is a really good one. I know that we were able to go straight from a cut into a mass, but is there any benefit to a maintenance period after the cut and before the mass? All right, and this is actually another question, I think, in the beginner part, but people were asking about how long you have to maintain after a cut if you want a mass. And of course, I already said this, but there is no period that you have to wait. So if you're cutting and you want to start massing afterwards and start gaining weight back, you don't have to maintain from the end of your cut. You can just get right back into massing. Now, that being said, you don't want to just explode into a mass and eat everything in sight and just blow up and eat a ton of, food sort of unnecessarily. That's not smart. You don't want to gain too much fat too soon, too quick. But would there be any benefits of doing a maintenance after a cut if your goal is to gain weight? So we of course know if you cut and you want to cut more, well, then you need the maintenance period in there. Because again, you need to give your metabolism a break, and you need to give your mind a break. Sort of above all else, your mind needs a break. So we know that you need to maintain after a cut. But some people have taken that, because most people are looking to lose weight and lose fat. And it's probably sort of like 2/3 to 1/3 fat loss versus massing is my guess. So again, that's why people have sort of heard that, and they think that the same applies if you're trying to mass afterwards, which isn't necessarily true. And would there be any benefits if after you cut to maintain before you gain? Not necessarily. I think so again, maintenance is you gain about 2 to 5 pounds back, something like that. And so if you're massing slowly without just blowing up and eating everything in sight, you should slowly gain back. So, maybe a month later, you're only up 4 to 5 pounds, which is still kind of in that maintenance zone. So, it's similar to a maintenance. You just kind of hit that top end of maintenance and you just slowly keep going past that 2 to 5 pounds. So, the advantage is you just don't gain a bunch of fat. All right, so Zach's back. All right, awesome, thanks. The gym does have some kettlebells and smaller things. When we get back, I plan to hypertrophy block, winter goal. Yeah, that's cool, man. I mean, even some kettlebells, I'm sure you can do, some interesting things with that, whether you're holding some or doing some squats or something like that, maybe some deadlifts. That should be enough to at least kind of prevent any muscle loss. Again, anything is better than nothing. So even if there's not a ton of stuff, totally cool. All right. So another question, any tips on getting thicker abs? Also, I've noticed my right side is more thick cut than the other. Any tips on fixing that? Thicker abs, so probably, more weighted ab stuff, right? So how would you get thicker, any muscle? Just trainings with, increasingly, so progressive overload on weights. So maybe you're doing, decline sit-ups or something, and you start out, holding 10, 15 pounds, but over the weeks, it goes, 15, 20, 25, 30 or whatever. That's how you do it. You treat it more or less like any other muscle out there. And, progression, steady overload, things like that. Definitely do some heavier type ab training. Don't just, do tons and tons of reps, a million sit-ups or something like that. Don't do that. But again, train heavy abs just like you would any other muscle group. And then another part you asked was, right side, maybe is a bit more advanced than the other side. Man, that's an interesting question. I'm not sure that I have a great answer for that. My best guess would be, you can do some unilateral stuff. I would think if you're doing dumbbell stuff, again, it's really tough to overemphasize one. So if you're using barbell stuff, it's probably possible that one side can overpower the other. A lot easier, but if you're doing dumbbell work, so maybe you take a month or two and you do a bit more dumbbell stuff when it comes to upper body, whether that's dumbbell presses, for chest, overhead, even dumbbell rows, things like that. If you're doing that, it's really hard for one side to kind of do more work than the other because each side has to do the work individually. Versus on a barbell, it's whatever. Let's say you're squatting, it's easier to maybe your right side does a little bit more than the left. So I would say try to do some more dumbbell work because it would seem hard to skew things like that. But yeah, cool. Thanks, Zach. Appreciate the comments again. Again, man, there's not a ton of people in here, so feel free to take advantage of it while you can. It's totally cool. Totally why we're here. So you're sort of getting the best of both worlds. Kind of have your own personal webinar right now. But again, I'm just going to pull up some more stuff that I think is pretty interesting to talk about from the forums. All right, so the same gentleman that was asking about calories being too low has a question on intermittent fasting. Here is a quick breakdown of the pros and cons of IF, intermittent fasting. Pros. Some people just don't like to eat when they wake up. That's obviously a pro. So you can eat all your food in like an 8-hour window of the day, and you fast for 16, you eat 8 hours a day, something like that. So another pro. When are most people the most hungry, and when do they cheat the most on a diet? Usually at night, later on. Some people don't like small meals. Some people like bigger meals. That's another pro of IF. You're eating more, and you're eating more frequently, and larger meals at night. Those are usually good things if people struggle cheating, on their diets. Again, in nutrient timing, as we know on the nutritional priorities chart, nutrient timing is down here. It's maybe 10% of your diet success, but a lot of that is more timing of macronutrients around training. I would say, so those are the pros of IF. The cons, well, what happens if you train in the morning? Are you going to eat all your food at night? Well, that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. So I would say a pro of IF would be if you train at night. If you train at night and want to eat most of your food at night, that seems to make logical sense there. If you train in the morning or afternoon, it maybe doesn't make quite as much sense to do so. The other one is, typically if you're not ingesting protein every few hours, where is it going to come from? It's going to come from your muscles. Maybe you could supplement if you want to go a bit more IF approach. Maybe you, here's my solution to IF and RP. How do you combine the two to merge them? Well, let's say you take some of your macros from meal 1 or meal 2, move them to at night, but maybe you just have a protein shake or something in the morning. So you're getting something in your system when you wake up versus going just completely fasted. And then you sort of minimize the negatives of IF and you take advantage of all the positives of it. So again, there's a way to merge it. And on the healthy diet templates, for example, again, the timing suggestions are very, very general, and people may not even work out if they use the healthy diet templates. So you get either 3 or 4 meals on the healthy diet templates, and timing is almost irrelevant because it doesn't really matter. So, you could very easily do the healthy diet templates and do IF, intermittent fasting. But I think the easy way to combine the two, RP and IF, is again just have like a protein shake or something really small in the morning, and that way you're not going completely fasted. So let's say you do that at 8 a.m. and you start eating most of your food from 4 p.m. to midnight. Again, at least you have something there, and you kind of get a little bit of the best of both worlds without sort of seeing the negatives. But all right. Cool. All right. So more questions. More people are in here. That's awesome. Love to see that. Quick question. Intra-workout carbs. I know there's a variety of options. Carbolin, dextrose, Gatorade, coconut water. Do the different carbs have different uses? Like sometimes Gatorade better to use during hard workouts. Good question. Maybe for really long, harder workouts, that the duration is simply longer. It's probably a good idea to really make sure you have something with electrolytes. I'm not sure if all of the carb supplements that are made, I don't know if they all have those in there, but something like Gatorade definitely does. So maybe Gatorade would have an advantage in longer duration workouts versus Carbolin or dextrose. That's probably the only real advantage I could see. Heck, I think even coconut water has electrolytes, so there are some benefits there. But obviously, the downside of coconut water is it might be better if you're a smaller individual because the amount of workout carbs you're going to need is a lot lower. And something like the greater than coconut water that we talked about a few weeks ago in RP clients, that I think it's maybe like 8 ounces or something, has 12, 15 grams of carbs. So again, if you're a larger male, there's no way you're going to be able to use that because you have to drink like 6 of them, and that's just ridiculous. And I don't think anyone in RP probably has the luxury of spending $20 for each workout carbs. It's just absolutely ridiculous. We would never suggest that because it's just a complete waste of money to do it that much. Can you do one if you're a smaller person? Absolutely, but that many seems silly. So I would say those are maybe some of the differences. Other than that, they're more or less interchangeable. I mean, that being said, I would never recommend coconut water over, dextrose or Gatorade, because I'm not even sure if coconut water is a higher GI carb source, but there's just so many people out there that are afraid of Gatorade for whatever reason. I have no idea. Naturalistic fallacy didn't really make sense to me personally, but a lot of people that are afraid of it. So, again, that's why it's on there. We want to give people options so they can stick to the diet, and consistency is better than not having it and ignoring it. But cool, thanks for the question. Really appreciate it. And again, if you have more, man, I take advantage of it, and I'll stick around for as long as there's questions coming in until 5. But all right, I'll pull up some more questions from the forums that I think are really cool to talk about. All right. Oh, all right, so we got some really cool ones. All right, so here's a good one. Kind of goes in with the IF thing. So a waitress can't eat for 8 hours. Interestingly enough, I waited tables while I was in college, and a lot of the times I think I was maybe even massing. Here's what I did. I would work out in the morning, and then I usually worked from like 11 to, or maybe it was even 10, something like that, I forget, until, like 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night. So it was basically a double shift. And I did that like 4 or 5 days a week, every week for the entire summer. I would wake up in the morning and have just a little bit of food before I went and lifted. Then I would lift, have my training shake, with training, and then I would pack food. I would pack a big, post-workout meal, a bunch of rice and meat and stuff like that, and I would eat it cold in the car before I went into work or whatever. Maybe even in the gym parking lot. Who knows what? Or sometimes if I could ride with somebody else, I would have them drive, of course, and I would eat it while I was riding along with them. Of course, everyone thinks you're, weirdo when you do that, but whatever. And do that, and then I would take either like a protein bar with me, and I would keep it, kind of in the back. So whenever I could sneak away, I totally would. Again, I would pack food as well, and so I would usually get some sort of lunch break between the 2 shifts. And I would, of course, have my normal meal then, but I would have, like a protein bar, and I would make my own shake. So I would usually take some, like whey protein, some oats, and a bunch of peanut butter, and blend it together. So it's like a really thick, just not very appealing to most people, but I would drink that. And whenever I could sneak back in there, man, I would chug that in like 5 seconds, whatever. I just did whatever I had to get it done. And again, if you're trying to gain weight, or, you're taking your things really, taking your diet and training really seriously, you sort of just do what it takes. And where there's a will, there's a way. You can always usually come up with something like that, whether it's a little protein bar in your pocket that you sneak in the back for a minute or so, grab a bite, chew it real quick, get back out there. You can usually do something like that, or shakes. Or you can probably just buy like, some mass gainer shake or something too, and, sip on that whenever you can, even if it's, a little bit here and there, a couple drinks here and there. It's going to be better than nothing. But so what this particular girl is asking, Danielle's, if she can just have a bunch of casein and fats if she can't eat for 8 hours, and that's 100% cool, and that's what we recommend. So if you can't eat for a really long time, casein is slower digesting, maybe, you take a meal or two and you combine that protein, so maybe 3 and 3 ounces, now you have 6 ounces. That's quite a bit of protein. If you convert that to casein, it's like 36 grams. That's a pretty big casein shake. Take maybe your fats from the 2 meals and combine them, and then maybe you take the carbs if you can, or you just shift your carbs to later in the day or earlier in the day when you can sit down and eat. And again, nutrient timing is less important than just getting everything in above that. So that's a good way to do it. So totally cool. It's actually a really interesting one to ask. And Tiago answered. He said that's totally fine to have casein and fat before your shift, and then just compensate all the macros, and you can kind of eat again. Absolutely. And Tara is actually an EMT, so she knows all about that. So she has some good tips too. But we'll get back to this. See if there's any more questions coming in. So, all right, Zach and Renee have answered their questions. Again, people have a few more. Definitely like to stick around for a while and answer those. But if not, we'll probably maybe end it here in the next 5 or so minutes. But I'm just going to make sure everyone has a chance to get in their questions while we can. And again, this is always, all the webinars are recorded as well. So if you ever want to watch one, you can't actually make it live. It's totally cool. You can come back and watch it later. And we also have, this is a good point to talk about. In the forums, we have at the top, it's a pinned post. We have a weekly webinar Q&A. So if you can't make one of the webinars live and you want to ask a question to Dr. Mike or Dr. James, you can ask it in there. And then each week when they do a webinar, they'll go in there and they'll look at the questions and they'll take a bunch of those and they'll answer them on the webinar if they have time, of course. We'll always do the live ones first, but every now and again, we'll make sure that we get the Q&A ones answered as well. All right, so another question. I do weighted crunches, leg raises, and front squat holds, so maybe I need more calories to build the muscle, which I had a concern with strength training and saying within weight class. Do you need the surplus for strength gains? Well, the best way to gain strength and muscle is to eat more, sure. But you know, that of course comes with trade-offs of you won't be as lean, so you have to be okay with that. You could just maintain and focus on getting strong. I think that's a good way to go about it. But yeah, definitely the best way to grow muscle or strength is to eat more, but you have to be okay with the trade-off of knowing that you're not going to be as lean. So think about that and which one you sort of prefer more. Do you want to be leaner or do you want more muscle? And then make the choice if you want to cut versus mass. So hopefully that answers that. It should. All right. But yeah, I'll see if we can find another question in the forums and we'll get after some more. All right, well, here's one. So talking about cut 3. It's always good to talk about cut 3 every now and again. 2 questions in one. So I've been in cut 2 for over 2 months. All right, well, it's interesting. Oh, I see. So there was some Ramadan, some religious things in there that delayed the timeline. All right. So I just started, but then started cut 3 yesterday. My question is, because the duration of cut 2 is so long, do I still do cut 3 for 2 weeks before new base? And what if in the 2 weeks I didn't reach my fat loss goal? That question is fundamentally skewed because that's assuming there is a set duration for each tab, which there is not. Minus base, which you should probably run for a week or 2 to get used to the RP diet in general, there is no set timeline for each tab. It simply goes by how you respond to things. So if you're not losing weight on cut 1 and your goal is weight loss, and you stick to cut 1 for a week or 2, roughly, usually it's a good idea to wait a week or 2 because there's a lot of variation in water weight, then you would move to the next tab. There's no magical timeline that says, oh, you do base for 3 weeks, and cut 1 for 3 weeks, and cut 2 for 3 weeks, and cut 3 for 3 weeks to get your 12 weeks there. That's not how it works. Some people may have to slide through the tabs quicker. Some people may be able to stay on base or cut 1 the entire 3 months or whatever, and they'll lose weight, at their preferred rate, and that's fantastic. Maybe they have better genetics, or maybe they're even at the same weight. People can have different body composition. Of course, someone with a lot more muscle at the same weight probably going to lose weight faster on average than somebody that has a higher body fat percentage. So keep all that stuff in mind. But again, there is no set duration on any cut tab. The mistake will be, oh, we have to stick on X tab for so long before you move to the next tab. That's not necessarily true. Again, you need to give each one a little bit of time to counteract any water weight fluctuations. But thinking that you have to, oh, I have to do cut 1 for 3 weeks before I can move to cut 2. I mean, that's just not true unless you're losing weight as you want. And if you are, that's great. You can stay on. Think about it this way. The goal is to eat as much as you can while also losing weight, if your goal is weight loss, of course. So there's no bonus points for rushing through to the next tab. It's counterintuitive because if you rush through it, you're eating a bunch of less food than you could otherwise because you can, I'm just making up calorie numbers here, but if you can lose weight on 2,000 calories and you're slowly losing weight each week, why the hell would you want to drop it, lower to, let's say, 1,500, 1,600? It doesn't make any sense. So there's no bonus points for rushing through the tabs. All right, so more questions in here. Also, a follow-up question I asked Mike the other week. I know the massing weight gain recommendations is about 1/2 pound to a pound a week. My question is about cheat meals. Could be because I'm pretty lean starting out of mass, but it seems that 1 cheat meal a week Lose my weight averaging about 0.8 to 1.2 pounds a week. I'm on cut 2 tab and on cut 3. Do you think it's much less optimal in terms of recovery muscle gain to be having one cheat meal a week to gain 1 pound a week? No, you're talking about such minor differences that it doesn't really matter at all. You're talking about 0.5 to 1 pound versus 0.8 to 1.2. I mean, the difference there is 0.2 pounds a week, which is well within the margin of error on any particular scale that it's irrelevant. And if you are massing, why the hell would you not have cheat meals? You absolutely want to have cheat meals because you're massing. Interestingly enough, Dr. Melissa Davis is writing a huge article all about maintenance that is going to be for RP Plus. We're also going to release it to just on the RP website because it's just such a good article and so many people just need to read it. But the goal of massing or maintenance is to be, less strict and less rigid, because it saves that super rigid mindset for when you're cutting, because nobody can do that year round. So, I mean, the idea of not having cheat meals when you're massing is almost counterintuitive because you're, massing. As long as you're not gaining, 2+ pounds a week or, like 2 to 3 pounds a week, you definitely want to have those cheat meals in there because we got to live lives, right? We're all human beings. Again, we're not robots. I feel like I say that every time I do a webinar, and it's kind of just the idea that people want to be so perfect with their diet all the time. That's just not realistic. We have to be honest with ourselves that we need that relaxed, diet approach where you can not have to measure every single thing on the food scale, or have some free meals or cheat meals, out with friends and family. We sort of need that stuff built in at certain times because we know that when we cut, we're most likely going to drop that stuff out. We can be more rigid then, but save that, really serious dieting for when you're cutting. So no, I don't think it's much less optimal if you have a cheat meal, because again, that's probably just water weight. But again, if you're averaging things out, you're talking about 1.2 pounds versus 1 pound a week. That's such a minor difference that it seems largely irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. Plus, the trade-off there of not having that flexibility is totally not going to be worth it. You want that flexibility. You want to have those cheat meals when you're massing. So hopefully that answers that. It's about 4:47. All right. So if anyone, again, has another question here, I'll hang out for a few more minutes. But then other than that, we'll probably call it a day, and we'll go from there. We'll be back next week. All right. In the meantime, I will see if there's any other quick hitters we can touch on from the forums. So, all right. Well, here's a good one. It's asked all the time. So a lot of people just can't do casein for whatever reason. So are there any casein alternatives? All right. They're super simple. Any other lean protein listed if you want a casein alternative. It's as simple as that. Any other lean protein listed on the template, go for it. If you can't do casein, I mean, chances are you probably won't be able to do a lot of dairy stuff either. So the top choices would usually be yogurt or cottage cheese, because again, casein comes from dairy, so it's very similar. Again, maybe try those alternatives first. If you can't do those, then any other one. Ironically, whey protein is probably last on the list because it gets into your system really quick, so it's probably not something you want right before bedtime, or you can't eat for 6 to 10 hours or whatever. I don't know if people sleep for 10 hours. If you do, I'm 100% jealous of you. All right, man. So probably close to calling that a day, a webinar. I don't see any more questions coming in. The last one came in over 5 minutes ago. So I'll do a quick recap. If anyone has stuck around or just joining us, we just had a bunch of people sign up for a trial that we did for RP Plus. Really cool to see how fast it sold out. I was shocked at how fast it went. I figured it would last a few days, or maybe we wouldn't even reach it, the cap that we had in mind. But we surpassed it in about 12 hours. So that was really cool to see. So there's going to be a lot more questions and stuff popping up in the forums. That, of course, means You are pretty much guaranteed answers to your questions in the forums. The exception being if you're trying to get an actual written out plan, or maybe trying to get some medical advice. We can of course do things like that. But other than that, you will get questions answered in the forums. If for some reason you don't, now again, there's a lot more people that are all just recently joined. So maybe if something goes unanswered in your particular forum thread, just comment again, and that should bring it up to the top, and the moderators will likely see it. So just do that. Again, every now and again, they'll miss one. It's certainly never intentional, I promise. Sometimes it's just hard to keep up, or we sort of think that we've already answered something in the thread, and then someone comes back later and asks something, and it sort of flies under the radar. But it's never intentional. We want to answer all the questions, and we want to make sure people get exactly whatever they want out of RP Plus. We want to make sure you're happy, and all questions are answered. So again, take advantage of it. If you're using RP Plus, take advantage of it. Take advantage of it. Take advantage of it. Whether it's the videos, forums, recipes, blogs, webinars, you name it. Ton of different stuff. Hopefully something for everybody. And that's really the goal. So no matter what you're after, hopefully, good stuff coming. Again, talked about Dr. Spencer has a video coming on medical stuff. Jared's probably going to do one on the particulars of contest prep. It's probably going to be a blog post. Mel's going to have an awesome maintenance article coming up. And those are just a few things. I know there's a lot more stuff. Again, we have stuff coming every week, but those are three that I think are going to be pretty new and really well received. So be on the lookout for that stuff. But I will likely see everyone next Thursday at 4 p.m. Seems like all the questions are stopped for today. So thanks for all the questions today, everybody. And thank you for being in RP Plus. All right, we'll catch everyone later.